They say a mirror always shows the truth. But I've learned, some mirrors show things that shouldn't exist. It started 3 nights ago. I moved into a small rental apartment just outside of Boston. Top floor, creaky floorboards, old pipes, cracked ceiling, but cheap. Everything was fine until I noticed the mirror. It was built into the wall of the bedroom, about 6 feet tall, with an antique brass frame. The glass was aged, slightly warped, but still reflected normally. Mostly. The first thing I noticed was that the mirror seemed deeper. Not in a symbolic way. I mean literally. Standing in front of it, the reflection felt like it had depth, like I was looking into a room that looked like mine, but was somehow further away. The lights in the reflection were slightly dimmer. The shadows moved differently. Sometimes, I swore I saw something flicker behind me. But when I turned, nothing. At first, I thought it was just me. I'd been working late, barely sleeping, probably just stress, until the reflection changed. It was around 2:40 a.m. I'd gotten up to use the bathroom, and when I walked past the mirror, I froze. My reflection wasn't moving. I stood there. But when I raised my hand, it didn't follow. Instead, it just watched me, expressionless, lifeless, but focused. I stared at it, trying to rationalize it. Maybe the glass was glitching, some kind of visual lag. Then it blinked. I didn't. It did. Slow, deliberate, like it knew I was watching it. And then it did something I'll never forget. It smiled, but I didn't. After that night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I passed the mirror, I felt its presence, like something behind the glass was watching me breathe, waiting for me to blink, waiting for me to look too long. I tried ignoring it, covered it with a blanket. Didn't help. The next night, I woke up at exactly 3:03 a.m. Not from a dream, not from a sound, just awake. And the blanket? Gone. Folded neatly on the floor in front of the mirror, as if someone, or something, had removed it carefully. I stood frozen in the doorway, staring into the glass. That version of me was there again. But it wasn't copying my movements. It stood farther back in the room, still barely visible through the dim light. And this time, I wasn't alone in the reflection. Behind my mirrored self stood a figure. Tall, thin, wearing something dark and torn. Its head was tilted at an unnatural angle, like its neck had been snapped and left halfway twisted. It didn't move, but I knew it saw me, because it slowly raised one arm and pointed directly at me. I ran, slammed the door, turned on every light, and spent the rest of the night on the couch. The next morning, I checked the mirror again. Everything looked normal. No figure, no shadow, just me. But something was different. There were fingerprints on the inside of the glass. From the other side, long, thin, pressed from within. I tried cleaning them. They didn't come off. They weren't on the glass. They were in it. The next night, I did something stupid. I stayed in the room with the mirror. I turned off all the lights, sat on the edge of my bed, and just watched it. I don't know what I was expecting. Answers? A sign? Closure? What I got was worse. At 3 a.m. sharp, the room got colder. Not just cold, wrong. The kind of cold that sits in your bones, that hums in your teeth. And the reflection? It was no longer mine. The room in the mirror was not my room anymore. The wallpaper had peeled. The ceiling had black mold creeping down like veins. And in the back of the reflected room, there was a door. A door that doesn't exist in my world. It was where my closet should be. Old wooden iron hinges, and something behind it was knocking. Slow, deliberate. 3 knocks. Then silence. 3 more. But not from my side. Only in the reflection. I got up, moved slowly toward the mirror, staring at that impossible door. And then, it opened. Not wide. Just enough to see part of a face. Not mine. Not human. The skin was pale, damp, almost translucent, like it hadn't seen light in years. One eye, completely black. The other, missing. It leaned out from the darkness and whispered, "It's warmer where you are." And then, it smiled again. The same twisted, humanless smile I'd seen before. And my mirrored self, who had vanished, was suddenly there again. Standing behind it, watching me. I stumbled backward, slammed into the wall, and screamed. When I looked again, the door was gone. The room was mine. The reflection normal. Except for one thing. The mirror now had a crack running through the center. from top to bottom, like the glass was weakening, like the barrier was thinning. I didn't sleep again. I couldn't. Even when I left the bedroom, even when I tried to ignore it, I felt it. Like a tension in the air. Like someone was breathing down my neck. On the fifth night, the mirror wasn't just in the room anymore. It was in my phone camera. I was brushing my teeth when I opened the front-facing camera and saw him, my mirrored self, standing behind me. But when I turned around, nothing. I blinked, checked again. Gone. That version of me was leaking into everything. The hallway mirror, the microwave reflection, the window at night, always watching. And he wasn't just mimicking me anymore. He was copying me wrong. Tiny differences. I'd scratch my arm, he wouldn't. I'd blink, he'd smile. I started avoiding all reflections. Every screen. Every shiny surface. But the more I looked away, the closer I felt him getting. The next night, the crack in the mirror had spread. Now there were 3. Thin, jagged lines like lightning bolts across the surface. At exactly 3:03 a.m. I heard the knock again. But this time not from the mirror. From the hallway. 3 slow knocks. On the wall outside my room. I grabbed a flashlight and crept out, heart pounding. The apartment was empty. Still, but something felt shifted. The hallway was longer. Slightly. Only by a foot, maybe 2. But it shouldn't have changed. And at the end of it was another mirror. One I'd never seen before. Oval-shaped, standing on its own. I walked toward it slowly, flashlight trembling. And in the reflection, the room behind me was wrong again. Same moldy ceiling, same impossible door. But now it was wide open, and something was crawling out of it. I ran. I don't even remember deciding to. My body just moved. Down the stairs. Out of the apartment. Into the cold night. I didn't stop until I reached the corner store where the fluorescent lights made me feel, if only for a second, safe. I stayed there for hours. Watching the glass doors. The window reflections. Anything that might show him. But nothing came. When I finally got the courage to go back, it was daylight. Everything looked normal. The hallway was its regular length. The strange mirror was gone. For a moment, I almost convinced myself it had all been a hallucination, until I opened my apartment door and saw the footprints, wet, bare, human, leading from the mirror to my bed. Small puddles trailed behind each one, like someone had crossed from another world and dripped through it. I backed away slowly, shut the door. Then I heard the whisper, not in my head, right next to my ear. "You left the door open." I spun around. No one was there, but the mirror was glowing. A soft, pulsing red, like a heartbeat trapped in glass. And then, the crack shattered. The mirror collapsed inward, not like it broke, like it was being sucked inward, into somewhere else. And from that collapsing hole, it came out, crawling, long limbs, exposed ribs, skin that shimmered like oil in light. No eyes, just a stretched, torn mouth that opened too wide. And the sound it made wasn't a growl. It was a voice, mine, trying to imitate me. Badly. "I'm you. Let me in." I ran to the door, slammed it shut, held it with all my weight, and then silence. For a full minute. Nothing. Then a whisper. "It's warmer where you are." I knew I couldn't stay. That thing wasn't just imitating me anymore. It was becoming me. My voice, my movements, my thoughts. Every second I stayed, I felt it pressing closer, like our worlds were folding into one. And I could feel something worse. Curiosity. Like a part of me wanted to know what was on the other side. I packed a bag, only the essentials, and went to smash the mirror. But there was nothing left to break. Only a hole. A perfectly circular opening in the wall. Black, still, silent. And beyond it, the mirror world. Identical, but wrong. Colors muted. Air thicker. Time slower. I should have run. Instead, I reached out. My hand went through. It felt like cold syrup. Wet glass. and on the other side I saw it. My reflection. But this time, I was the one inside, and he was in my apartment. He looked around, smiled and said, "I'll take good care of it." And then he turned and walked away. I screamed, tried to pull back, but the glass was gone. I was trapped inside the mirror, watching the real world from behind the glass, pounding, shouting, crying. But no one hears me. Now I sit here, watching him live my life, wearing my clothes, answering my phone, smiling at my neighbors, and every now and then, he walks past the mirror, looks straight at me and whispers, "It's warmer where I am."